Hi, I'm Holly Wilkes. I'm the principal at Lincoln Park Elementary School, and this is our equity team.
Hi, I'm Sarah O'Rourke. I'm the reading specialist at Lincoln Park.
I'm John Harrison. I teach second grade at Lincoln Park.
I'm Amanda Robinson, and I teach fourth grade.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Carlson, Language Development Specialist.
Hola, mi nombre es Andreina Velasco y soy maestra de preescolar bilingüe. Hello, my name is Andreina Velasco and I am a bilingual preschool teacher.
I'm Amy Edwards, kindergarten.
Hi, I'm Hannah Snyder, school counselor, and this is Leo.
Hi, I'm Marissa Casada and I teach first grade. And I would like to share my anti-racist why statement. As a Latina educator, I constantly think about race and culture in my identity and my students' identities. When I was growing up, I was surrounded by white peers and white teachers. I constantly felt out of place. I knew there was something special about my culture, but I never had space to share. In one very powerful moment, I had a teacher point to me and tell me, "You would have been a slave." I was 7 years old. Race has filled my life, whether it's from being called a bad Mexican or believing that I wasn't beautiful because I didn't have blonde hair or blue eyes. In reflecting on these things as an adult, I look at the impact that dismantling white supremacy culture could have had on me. Had I had representation in books and teachers, maybe I would have grown up thinking I was beautiful. Had I had a culturally responsive classroom, maybe my peers would have understood that people are different and being a bad Mexican is perpetuating stereotypes. Maybe, if I had an anti-racist teacher, I wouldn't have been called a slave. I am passionate about dismantling white supremacy culture because I want to change the system that didn't work for me as a student. I am committed to being anti-racist as an educator because our students deserve to be respected and honored. I have seen the right to comfort and denial and defensiveness at play in the education system. This impacts students of color by denying the validity of who that student is in the classroom. I am committed to sitting in discomfort and analyzing the ways that white supremacy culture affects me as an individual.
What are you most excited about this year?
For me, right away, it's being new to this district. I'm really excited for all the positivity and leadership, like top to bottom, bottom to top. Everybody has been so welcoming here at Lincoln Park.
I just feel like Lincoln Park has such a solid equity team, and working with this equity team is like such an awesome learning experience. I feel like I learned so much from our equity meetings and then also from professional development, and I feel really excited about the work that this team is doing.
Yeah, I concur. I think the equity work seemed to rise when I most needed it, and that with our mindfulness practice at school has just been such a support on my journey.
As a first year teacher, I'm just really excited to be here, and all of the equity work that we're doing makes me feel really just excited to teach in general.
I'm excited to see the leadership rising from people like Marissa, Amy, who are new to our staff or new teachers, and then also from people who are really established like John and Sarah and Hannah. So I'm excited about the fact that it's not one person, it's really taking the entire staff over. And I'm also super excited about starting to deepen our conversations, and because we've been doing the work of figuring out where we are in this journey and getting the tools from the district to have those courageous conversations, I'm super excited that now we're starting to have them. And I think that next year we're going to be going so much deeper because ultimately we want those conversations to turn into action and impact our students. Super excited about that.
Something I'm really excited about is the amount of integration that we're seeing in our equity work. So it used to be like there was more like one-off stuff happening in February and then nothing else for the rest of the year. And now that work is incorporated to people's work all throughout the year. It's in the text that people are choosing for their read alouds. It's in the projects that people are doing for their students. And it's like students can feel it and we can feel it, and it's really powerful.
I'm really excited about the conversation that I feel like the whole school has been having. I've been on the equity team I think like 5 years. And it feels like each year it gets like more focused and more purposeful almost. And even, I mean, I'll speak for myself, like feel a little bit more confident in what you're doing, and it feels like it's more widely received by the school. So Holly, I think you have a really clear philosophy, and I think that really helps guide it, as well as, you know, the stuff that comes from the district. Again, like all the new people on the team, I think are just really stepping up, and it feels more universal rather than just like a group of 5 people in a room talking about it and being like, I don't really know how, like, is people gonna accept this, or like, what do we do?
Yeah, I want to emphasize that as well, Amanda, that I just feel like it's really moved from something that happens in one room to something that happens throughout the staff, throughout the larger school community. So we are seeing it throughout the school and within our staff and our students as well.
How do you encompass equity as a leader?
This one's for you, Paul.
Okay. Well, this is my first year here at Lincoln Park, and I think what I've tried to do with this equity team is they've been so kind and gracious to allow me to be a learner this year, and at the same time, kind of show through my own leadership the ways that I bring the equity lens to all of our decisions. So, you know, just being really intentional with the way that we roll out initiatives, being sure that we're having conversations about the ways families or students are going to be impacted, and just making that part of our practice is what I hope to do just this first year as a learner, but then next year really dive deep into that and really start analyzing and addressing some of our systems that might not have been working for students historically. So we've started this year, but I'm excited to really jump into that next year too.
And I want to say in regards to Holly's leadership and everyone on this team that one of the ways that we approach it is by modeling. So everyone on this team has modeled what we want our staff to do. So we do that within our equity committee, and we do that during our PDs. So Holly and all of us have shared our anti-racist why statements with the staff. Everyone here has facilitated courageous conversations in white and BIPOC spaces. So we're asking the staff, we're not asking the staff to do things that we don't practice ourselves. And I think that true leadership is rising up and being courageous and doing what you're asking the staff to do.
May I also say something about Andrea's leadership? Like, something amazing that she always does is that she hears you, she listens, but then also might still be like, we still might want to keep pressing there. We know it's uncomfortable, but you kind of keep that at the top, which is just a great strength of yours, is keeping that at the forefront, that this is going to be uncomfortable. And it's not really so uncomfortable that we shouldn't keep doing it. And so I think that's a really important one, I think, for me. Stay uncomfortable.
How do you include the David Douglas School District equity lens when making building-wide decisions?
Okay, well, for me, being new to the district this year, was so impressed to have the equity lens given to us as leaders back in August when we first started. And so it hangs, on my wall in the back of my office, and it's something that I can very often refer to and make decisions accordingly. We, like a more concrete example is we just rolled out all of our Z passes. And so it's really important to us, this is a new initiative. It's kind of different and we don't really know. We've never had kids kind of carry IDs before. So like Hannah and I were very intentional about making sure that we rolled it out very early in multiple languages. She made a video just to make sure that the impact that we're having is that this feels safe and this feels like a good thing. And it's not that your questions are important, and if you have them before it rolls out, we're spending time answering them. So just making sure that we're really intentional with what is the impact going to be when we roll these things out to families.
What does a racially affirming school environment look like?
I feel like a big part of a racially affirming school is like the entire staff creating their why. Like our entire staff has worked so hard to figure out like why are we dismantling white supremacy culture, and I think that has had a huge impact on our staff and how we, you know, affirm students' identities, affirm their cultures, and really just like deepen our connection and relationship with them.
Same. But I was also gonna say I had a moment this fall when the Zones regulation, which is one of the curriculum that I use, rolled out new visuals that included a young girl wearing a hijab. And when I put those up in a lesson that I was teaching in 3rd grade, one of the students was like, "She's Muslim! Look, she's Muslim!" And like seeing oneself reflected in the curriculum and reflected in what teachers are bringing to the classroom is so important for our students.
I think it also means taking the time to share out some of the things that I'm learning as an educator, either from Hannah making those amazing slides about all the different holidays that are coming up and other religions and cultures that I don't know about, as well as like, again, stuff from the district coming. It's really just like making sure that your students know that you find these things valuable and that they're worth mentioning, even if, you know, there's nobody in the class that necessarily celebrates the holiday. I think it's important for them to know that there's other cultures out there that are important to people.
For me, what racially affirming school looks like starts with all of the staff understanding how white supremacy culture and the characteristics of it are practiced in our schools and starting to decenter that. So ultimately, it would be an ultimate goal that all students see themselves and other people and other cultures in the curriculum, in the space, in conversations, that we're ultimately decentering whiteness and everyone is feeling affirmed and comfortable with difference. And ultimately that our students' race is not the factor of their not only academic achievement, but self-worth and self-confidence. So that they know that we believe in them in all of the systems that we have.
What is your equity stance?
I guess for me, it feels to me like the liberation of Black and brown people and marginalized people is tied to my liberation. And it's like being liberated from being ignorant and, being liberated from my own fragility and, not willing to be called on something. So I guess just it's that idea of more connection as a community and as a group, not just this, but like our whole community and the school and beyond. Like other people's liberation is not.
I think this year we've spent a lot of time doing our own work as a staff, so really reflecting on our own experiences, even our experiences in education as children, and then sort of using that information and that knowledge to equip us to do better. I know going into next year, because we've done a lot of this work, when it comes to looking at our data and the areas we are still falling down, we're really going to be able to take a look at that and not shy away and not hopefully be defensive, and ultimately begin to create systems that are supporting all students, not just a select few. And so because we've done our own work, I think that conversation is going to be that much easier, and we'll be excited about that and energized to be able to do that going into next year.
How will you use data to ensure equitable outcomes for students?
I can speak a little bit to my history in looking at data and looking at disaggregated data. It's not always the easiest thing to do, right? There's a lot of shame that comes. There's a lot of defensiveness that can come. I think though that we're in a good place to take a hard look. In fact, we were just looking at our youth troop data this week and last week, and Hannah and I, again, we're working together to kind of figure out who are the families who were able to kind kind of reply and respond. And we did not see a big population of our Black families who were responding to our survey, and their voice is incredibly important to the work that we do. And so we're taking actionable steps, for example, in the next couple months to do some more focus groups and be more intentional with getting their voice brought to the forefront. So I think just through modeling and getting comfortable with what that means to really look at data and take action is what we're working on. And I have full confidence in the strength and the resiliency of our staff to do that hard work because it's for the kids.
Building on what Holly says, I think that thinking about the concept of data critically and what the data is and how it informs everything that we do in what way. So the fact that there's this type of data that is in some ways has a lot of systemic barriers for families and students to access it, and then being intentional about setting up other ways to collect stories, because data is a story. And so there's the single story of data, and then what we're moving towards in equity is to have multiple perspectives, especially from historically marginalized families. So I think that being critical and asking the question, we're spending so much energy on this type of data, but what stories are we missing? Let's start collecting those stories as well.
What equity practices do you hope to see in every classroom?
I've been thinking about this one since because this is kind of the one that's been like the best gateway for me, just getting literature all over my room. Like you have to start somewhere, but it's starting with like, who's here now? Let me make sure they're reflected. Next year, who's here now? Are they reflected? Who's here now? And just slowly building that up. And that's something that we've been trying to do, like in kindergarten in our anchor texts. We make sure that our students we have anchor texts that are reflecting all of our students, because it's a really like safe and easy way to start, but then it also like gives you a nice platform to deepen those conversations. Even with 5 and 6 year olds, they have the most amazing, honest conversations based off a story. And I can't think of anything more powerful for me anyway.
She said I was really. I mean, I brought the books, but Amy's class is a great place to hang out. And I've been doing story time in Andreina's class. Like that, like the books that you read, the conversations that you have, especially in preschool and kindergarten and first grade, like those are the foundations of a person's learning experience, and making that relevant and powerful and inspiring to our students is super important. Plus, there's some
So to piggyback on Amy's idea of honesty, I think I teach 4th grade, not being afraid to have difficult conversations and just being really honest with my students. You know, I am not the expert on equity or diversity, and giving them the space to share their own experiences, but also, being honest with history without getting, too deep and dark into horrible things. But we study Indigenous peoples in Oregon, so having like an honest conversation about that. And in the 4th grade, they eat it up. Like they love it. They love it when you don't sugarcoat everything and you're just honest.
I'll piggyback on that too, with creating space for like reactivity, like letting their whole self be there, like even their pissed off self, and this is what we do when we get upset.
As you self-reflect on your spring and summer hiring practices, share your efforts and outcomes to diversify your school building for both classified and certified positions.
Yeah. So this is a question very near and dear to my heart, because hiring is one of the most important things that I do. I think that I'm, very unapologetically committed to hiring a more diverse staff, both in our teaching staff and in our classified staff too. A lot of the teachers that we have in our staff are white, and so we're working really hard to recruit from first of all, from the amazing Grow Your Own program that David Douglas has that supports instructional assistants, BIPOC instructional assistants in becoming teachers, but then also going to the job fair and ensuring that we're recruiting intentionally. And something else about our classified staff, we were lucky enough this year to hire a lot of classified staff from our community too. So I love to have members of the community who have their own children here come and be part of our school and our program. And I think, I've said this from the get-go, I'm very, very committed to making this school be a school I would send my own child to. My plan is very much, my child's 3, but my child is very much going to come to Lincoln Park. And I think when you have that in your community, where we are community members who also have their children in this school, we are that much more committed to making this the very best place that it can be. And I think that's something special and unique about Lincoln Park that I'm really proud to lead.
We are the Lincoln Park Equity Team, and
We believe in equity.